Welcome to the PLZ Soccer Show. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Ruff and Barry Ferguson are alongside me. Great to have your company on the show as we look ahead to the weekend Premiership fixtures. There's an early kick-off. It's at Fir Park. It's Motherwell against Rangers. Motherwell haven't beaten Rangers since 2002 in the league, Barry. Of course, they have a playoff win against Rangers over two legs, one at Fir Park as well. But they have aspirations, Motherwell, of getting into the top six still. Is that achievable?
Yeah, I think Stevie Robinson will expect that. But for me, Rangers have got to go and get the 3 points, no matter how they play. After the last result against Kilmarnock, where I fully expected them to beat Kilmarnock, they didn't. The performance was poor. The fans were unhappy. So I think Graeme Murty needs to go to a difficult place in Fir Park and get 3 points, no matter how they perform on the day. But I know myself, it's not a nice place to go and try and get a victory. I think he's done a fantastic job, Stevie Robinson at Motherwell. So it's going to be a difficult game for Rangers, but I fully expect Rangers to go and get the 3 points.
Yeah, you've been writing in the paper that they, like Ali McCoist, they need to quickly make a decision on Graeme Murty. Graeme Murty says that they're already making plans for the summer and beyond, whether he's there or not. So things are moving forward, but I don't think he's going to get it. I don't know if you've changed your mind. You don't think he's going to get it either?
No, I don't think the board are going to give him it. I think he deserves to be considered. I think he's certainly done a better job than the last manager. Is it enough? That's up to the Rangers board to decide. But I think they need to decide quickly, because Graeme will want to obviously identify players to go and try and sign them. There's a number of players out of contract. There's a number of players going back to their parent club. So I think it needs to be resolved sooner rather than later. For Graeme Murty's sake, as well as the fans, because I think they deserve to know what's going on.
Yeah, the good news for Rangers, they've got Jordan Rossiter back available, Ross McCrory and Graham Dorrans. So players coming back at a crucial time in this battle for second place, Ruffy.
Yeah, it certainly is, and these are players that I think Rangers have missed, but like Barry, I think Motherwell, if they win this one, I think we can forget about Graeme Murty being the manager of Rangers Football Club. I don't think he can afford 2 defeats back to back. Although we were all talking him up when he went on a good run, I think a defeat tomorrow, that would be it. I think we could stop talking about it and then see when Rangers are going to move on to.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. 2 defeats back to back. That would be 3. Celtic, Kilmarnock and then Motherwell. I think everything hinges on the Cup semi-final. But over and above that, just before we move on to the next game, Barry, I think a lot of people now will slowly but surely look at the Cup final as the defining moment. But after that Cup final, if it doesn't go according to plan for Rangers, I think a number of people are going to look towards the board and start to say, OK, where's the investment coming from? What's going to happen with the soft loans? How are you going to attract a top-line manager and back it up with players to stop 10 in a row?
First and foremost, if you're going to attract a top manager, he's going to cost a lot of money. And I don't think Rangers have got that money, wages-wise, to go and spend $1 million plus if you're going to try and tempt somebody from down in England. So it's a difficult one, but I think the Rangers board need to make a decision. As I said, I think there's a lot relying on, especially next season. Look, the league's away. Celtic are going to win that. They've got a cup semi-final coming up against Celtic. I think whether they make that decision before or after, I think they'll probably make it after the semi-final, depending on the result. But I think it's only fair for Graeme. The players as well, the players will be unsure in that dressing room. So I think the Rangers board need to come out and say what they're doing in terms of appointing a manager, whether it's going to be Graeme in a long-term contract or they're looking elsewhere to go and appoint a manager.
Yep. OK, Motherwell Rangers, who wins?
Rangers.
OK, nothing like getting to the point quickly now. You've taken that to heart.
They need to win. They need to go and win that game, because after I thought they played well against Celtic for 60 minutes. Last half hour wasn't great. The Kilmarnock game was a big disappointment for me. I'm expecting a reaction. They didn't get it. The performance was below par. So they really need to go to Fir Park and get the 3 points. Forget about performance, how well they play. They need to just go and win the game.
Yeah. Scoreline?
1-0 Rangers.
OK, that's tight. Ruffy?
I'm going 2 each.
OK, 2 each. Now, let's move on. Hibs against Partick Thistle, 2 of Ruffy's old clubs. Neil Lennon, a manager, coming out and saying, listen, if people are going to come in for John McGinn, let's start talking at £5 million. Is that a fair price, Ruffy?
Well, it's what is it you call it? A firing over the board for everybody who think they're interested. I think
it's called a shot across the bow.
Well, I knew it was something across the board. It was they far away. But no, I think, well, obviously, right, the only team that can afford them up here is Celtic. Will Celtic play 5 million? I don't think so. So then you're looking at down at England, where most clubs, 5 million to them is nothing at all. So I think it all depends on the club that are interested in them. We don't know if there is anybody yet, but I think that throwing out a 5 million, everybody's just trying to keep a hold of him.
Yeah. Okay, let's just say, for example, that someone would have written a column a year ago saying that they'll swap Scott Allen and maybe a bit of cash or some other players in the equation, and John McGinn goes to Celtic. I said a year ago he was a Celtic player in waiting.
Yeah, I think he is. He's a player I've always liked. I think certainly in the last year, technically, he's come on. He's obviously been doing a lot of work on the training ground. We know physically he gets about the pitch and he'll fly into tackles. I think his passing's got a lot better, and I don't think it's a silly valuation for Neil Lennon. You seen the game against Hungary, he impressed me. He made a difference coming in that midfield. I know he was alongside Armstrong and McGregor, but for me, I thought he was one of the best players in the night, and I think Neil Lennon's got every right to try and expect £5 million from him.
Yeah, okay, what about Hibs against Partick Thistle? Thistle without a win in 7, Barry, precariously positioned in the bottom end, still in relegation trouble.
Yeah, I think it looks worse for Partick. As I said, I think they overachieved last season, getting into the top 6. It was always going to be a difficult season for Alan Archibald and his team. But I fully expect them not to finish bottom of the league. I think they'll finish second bottom. And Hibs, for me, I really enjoy watching Hibs, and I think it's going to be a hard one to get a result. I think Hibs will win that by a couple of goals.
Okay, Ruffy, what's your take on it?
Yeah, obviously in the form of Partick Thistle, you can't expect them to win that game. I think the best they could do would put up a good defensive performance, hope Hibs are on an off day and come away with a draw. Whether that will happen, I don't know, but Alan Archibald has had the knack over the past 2 or 3 years to get Thistle out of it at this stage. I think this is the worst of the years gone by, and he's already warned the players that livelihoods are at stake here, so we'll have to wait and see if that's the motivation that these players need. But there'll be certain games they need to win. They need to win the last game against Kilmarnock, that's a definite, and then they go into the split and they'll believe with the other 5 teams that they can take points. But I hope it isn't, because I believe that Alan Archibald, like all the young managers, deserve, to keep going. I don't like to see young managers getting sacked. So I hope he manages to get them out of the hole again.
Yeah, so you think Ross County and Hamilton Accies?
Yeah, I do. I still think Hamilton Accies. I'm still sticking with it. I know they've got a game in hand, but again, they're not any distance away from the bottom 2. So I think they could be dragged into it, basically because when Ross County play Hamilton and Thistle play Hamilton, if they lost these games, it just turns everything on its head. So that's what's making it so exciting.
Yep, absolutely. I'll try and read out some of your messages on Facebook Live and Twitter Live as well. We try and read out the positive and the negative on it, but the abusive, we just blank them. Or as they say in the modern day, we just patch them, Barry. That's a word that I've started to learn from people under the age of 30. Let's just patch that. So if you've got anything negative to say, this isn't the channel for you, really. This is about football. Maybe you'd be as well trolling somewhere else. I'm only reacting to some of the things that I see that are abusive up there already, So
Obviously, it's to me then, towards me.
No. Don't worry. Listen, long before you arrived here, they were giving it to me. Ruffy is the housewife's favourite. I'm the guy they like to hate, and now I've been joined by Marmite, which is you. Love or hate, And these are just members of your family at the moment. This is not the public. So let's move on to Celtic Ross County. I was in the company of Brendan Rodgers. He knows that the Celtic players are now looking at this back-to-back treble. It's a chance to create a little bit of history, Ruffy. He's got players coming back who must be on a high. Jack Henry, suddenly, this guy looks as if he could be the mainstay at Scotland's central defence for years to come. And Brendan Rodgers, I think, is looking at him and thinking, you're going to be a regular for Celtic.
Yeah, I think the young lad will be hoping from now until the end of the season he gets a fair amount of games. Brendan's already talked the two young ones up. It'll be interesting to see if he plays the two of them together. I'm sure he wouldn't have any fears of playing them at home, particularly against Ross County. But yeah, to rise to where he is just now and getting an international cap is absolutely superb, and it can only be good for not only Celtic but Scotland in the long run.
Yep, okay, they're against the Ross County side. I must have sympathy for Stuart Kettlewell. It's a difficult job. 1 win in 18 games. Doesn't look good for County. I've got them gone. And I think the playoff place, I had Hamilton Accies, but I'm swaying towards Dundee. I'm getting worried about Neil McCann's side.
Yeah, first, I think it is a difficult job for Kettlewell. They've had a difficult season, Ross County. I actually look at Ross County's squad and they've got some good players, and it's just not happened for them for one reason or another this season. But I think the biggest problem was getting rid of Jim McIntyre. I thought they were too hasty in doing that, and you see where they find themselves, sitting bottom of the league. I think they'll find it hard. Certainly, I don't think they'll get anything off Celtic at the weekend, but I think they'll find it difficult to get off that bottom. Right until the end of the season.
Yeah. Prediction, Celtic, Ross County?
I could see Celtic. I look at Celtic and obviously seen Brendan Rodgers talking about the game, and he spoke about the players, and I've got a feeling that they'll have that steely determination and to make sure they wrap up the league early. So I think they can. It's hard for me to say this, right enough, but I think it'll take 3 or 4 goals off Ross County.
Yeah. Okay. Don't worry about it being difficult to tip Celtic to win the game. It's all about opinions, Ruffy, isn't it? It's painful for Baz at the moment. I have to tell you that it's written all over his face. But that's the joy of loving your football, and it is only a game. It's a game of football that we love watching. Celtic, Ross County. Give us your prediction.
Yep, I think Celtic will win 4-0, and I think somebody in the Celtic team will get a hat-trick.
Okay, there you are. Right, you don't get that punditry anywhere else. Ruffy, just taking a throw of the dice there. That's absolutely magnificent. Aberdeen. Now, if we're talking about Jack Henry being in the news, what about Scott McKenna? I'll tell you, he was a bonus for me in the Scotland performance against, albeit a poor Hungarian side. But his distribution for a centre half, I thought, was superb on the deck or in the air.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. Certainly when I've watched him for Aberdeen. I thought the 2 Scotland games, I thought he impressed. As you says, technically, I wasn't too sure about him, but I thought his passing was really good, decisive. And I was actually speaking to Chris Boyd a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying he's played against him a few times, and he's really a tough defender to play against, but also when he's got time to play, he can play. And I've seen that in the last couple of Scotland games. So we've got to be lucky that we've got a young player coming through. Obviously McKenna doing really well, and obviously now we've got Jack Henry coming and making his Scotland debut. So the future's looking good, centre half wise. As over the past 4 or 5 years we've struggled in that area.
Yeah, Aberdeen are trying to hunt down Rangers and finish second in the table. They've got an opportunity with a game in hand, but they've got St Johnstone first and foremost. Who's going to come out on top?
I think Aberdeen will win that game. I know St Johnstone had a good result midweek against Accies, but I think Aberdeen will win it.
Yeah, Ruffy, do you agree with Barry on this one?
Yeah, I think we've all saw that. I think everybody has one of these bogey teams they play against, and St Johnstone seems to be Aberdeen's, but I don't think it will be that case tomorrow. I think the midweek game will go against St Johnstone, and I'm going to go Aberdeen to win 2-0.
Okay, there's another match now with Kilmarnock against the aforementioned Hamilton Accies. Steve Clarke said he's resigned to the fact that in the summer it wouldn't be a great surprise if Yusuf Malumbu was able to go and sign a deal elsewhere. A lot of clubs might offer him a fair bit of money because he's played well for Killie. But I have to say to you, if this had been, I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, maybe last year, Barry, before Pedro Caixinha came in and wasted a lot of Rangers' money on South American players, he's the type of player that would ideally sit in the Rangers midfield.
Yeah, when I read the article, that's the first thing that sprung to my mind. I think he'd be a fantastic player for Rangers. I look at Kilmarnock's form. I know we talk about Boyd. Listen, Boyd's goal scoring form's been unbelievable this season. He's back to his best, and there's been a lot of good performers. Young Jordan Jones has been really good, but for me, Malumbu has been the driving force. Every time I've watched Kilmarnock, he's been their top man. he's played at the highest level down in England, and I think Rangers should be looking at somebody like that. I know Kilmarnock fans will not enjoy me saying that, because he's been a revelation since he's come up, but I think he's only 31 as well, so he's still got a lot of fuel in the tank, and I think Rangers should be looking at a player like that, because he can run a game, he can dictate a game, and he's got that experience of playing at the highest level. Yeah,
and full marks to Steve Clarke. He started to get some of the younger players on deals to keep them at the club for the next couple of years as well. That possibly is an insight into his intention as the Kilmarnock boss. Rory McKenzie, the latest player to commit to 2020. So good news there for Killie. Aki's 1 defeat in the last 4, 2 wins. That unfortunate defeat to St Johnstone in midweek, albeit with an own goal. Ruffy, who's going to win this one? Killie, Hamilton, Aki's?
I think Killie will just edge this one again. The Hamilton Aki's game in midweek, they don't have a large pool to pick from. I think they'll probably pick up injuries there. I think Kilmarnock will just keep the run going.
Yep. Okay, Dundee again. Oh, nearly forgot you there. Killie, Hamilton.
This is a hard one. Hamilton's my local team, and obviously my nephew plays with Hamilton.
Yeah. Any chance of just giving us a balanced opinion then, instead of your cousins and your pals all playing for them?
No, I think Kilmarnock will be too strong. I think Stevie Clarke is. I've said it a number of times. Phenomenal job, and I think they'll have too much for Hamilton.
Okay, let's go to Dundee Hearts. Neil McCann picked up a 2-game ban for his altercation with Xander Clark trackside in that 4-0 defeat at Dens Park. He represented himself, no surprise there. He'll end up going into law, I'm almost certain. But a 2-game ban, is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, the two of them had a bit of a set to after the game. Listen, I'm no surprised with Neil. I played with Neil at Rangers. He's a feisty character. He hates losing. That was one of the biggest things that jumped out at me when I met him and I played with him. I just think it's frustration that's boiled over. It was a bad defeat for him. And he's apologised, and he says he probably acted in the wrong way. Now they've got their bans, it's put to bed. I just think he'll be looking at getting results now, because he badly needs a result.
Yeah. Do you think they're in relegation trouble? Do you think that? Well, I know they're in relegation trouble. Do you think they're going to get relegated? Who's your two?
No, my two. I think Ross County will go down. I think Partick will finish in second bottom. I think if I look at the Dundee squad, I still think they've got good enough quality to get out it. And Neil McCann will believe in that. But listen, they need to start collecting points. As I said, they've been in a horrendous run of late.
Okay. Hearts and Budge comes out. We're going to give you a new pitch. I'm going to try and get you the 10 players you're looking for. And Craig Levine has already said, listen, I've started actually talking to 2 or 3 of them now. I've contacted them. We're trying to get them in the summer so that everything is all set and Hearts can hit the ground running in the new season.
Yeah, if you're a Hearts supporter, I think you'll just be wondering what kind of quality he's going to bring in. I know he's sort of identified a couple of boys for the lower divisions, a boy for Queen of the South. And if he's going to go down the foreign route, bringing players in, when you bring that many in, sometimes it takes them a wee bit of time to settle. So I think you just have to wait and see. It's been a disappointing season for Hearts. So yeah, I think keeping the supporters on board by bringing in 8 or 9 players is always good for the club.
Yeah. Okay. Prediction.
1 each.
1 each there. Dundee Hearts.
Dundee need to win, so I think Dundee will get 3 points.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Premiership. If you can't get to a match, why not join us on STV2 at 2 o'clock all the way through until 6 o'clock. We'll be sending Barry out to Morton against Dundee United in the Championship with Des McKeown. Hopefully you can join us for that. We'll get reaction from Fir Park with Motherwell against Rangers, the early kick-off. And incidentally, if you are looking for something to watch on this Good Friday at night, 8 o'clock on STV tonight, I'm having a chat, a one-to-one with Jack Ross, the St Mirren boss. He's got lofty ambitions. He has his sights set on becoming the Scotland manager at some point in the future. It's a good interview. Barry is in the chair with me, Alan Ruff as well. 8 o'clock on STV after Coronation Street. So what happens is we're in the sandwich, Ruffy. Basically, you watch Coronation Street and then you come on to three other sweetie wives from the Rovers return. We have a wee chat about football for half an hour and then you get back to Coronation Street. It's a perfect Friday.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Enough time to get a cup of tea in between the switch.
a wee dunk of the biscuit and then sit down. And of course, the great thing about football, when the music starts and then you see who's on the panel, because visually we always like to judge people, you can actually look and despise Barry immediately and then grow to love him before the end of the show. That's what happens, because once you get to know him, he's actually a likeable guy, contrary to some of the vile abuse he's getting on our Facebook Live. You really have to have a long, hard look at yourself. If your mother knew what you were doing right now in some of your messages, you need to behave better. This is a football show. Join us tonight, 8 o'clock on STV, and of course Monday to Friday we always have a Facebook Live, Twitter Live with the soccer show. Barry here, thanks to Barry Ferguson for joining us and giving us his predictions, and Ruffy, as ever, loved by all. Nobody dislikes Ruffy. He's just a housewife's favourite, and well, I'm in Barry's category. You know, some you like, some you don't. Thanks for watching the soccer show.